the headline is my family business is airport parking.
Yeah.
We operate a 3-site. There's one in Gatwick, there's one in Manchester, there's one in Birmingham. And there was until recently. Birmingham since closed.
Because of this?
Yeah. Just we couldn't deal with the drop off in traffic. But we survive on faith in air travel and the airport itself. So we sell other people's products as well. So we're around the UK. We've got. You can go onto our website and you can purchase parking at Heathrow. You can purchase parking at Edinburgh. It won't be actually through us, but we'll broker the service. So it's quite a fragile business in light of air travel being shut down globally. It's been around since 1980. Well, the bare bones of it are pre-war. My great granddad had a taxi company. He made shells during World War II. It was a bicycle shop at some point, and eventually became a piece of airport parking land, which subsequently grew into the largest off-airport parking operator in the UK. It's now run by my dad from the other side of the family, and my mum and my auntie and my uncle work there. Some of my cousins work there. I work there. It employs about 300 people. We're a business of good standing with relatively predictable profit and revenue for the past 25 years. We've always been on side with the bank. We've recently expanded a car park from our old site at Gatwick to a new one which is closer. And in the space of, 2 months, 3 months,
starting
March, April, we saw a 90% drop in bookings.
Yeah.
So we're used to taking 3,000 bookings a day through our website, and then some on the phones, and it just dropped off like that. And I know that whatever my opinions are relatively biased because of my position, but it's difficult to say that we should just get on with things and think of another thing to do, because it's what we've been doing for so long. It's a valuable service. It's a highly rated service. It's not like we messed up ourselves. It's not like, we let the ship go loose and had to lay a load of people off and had a bunch of bad reviews and people went elsewhere. It's a result of bureaucratic decision that means we can no longer trade.
Yeah.
And furlough is fine. People say, what about furlough? Aren't you on furlough? And furlough looks after the 400k or so a month wage bill. But what about the other 250k of costs every month that a business is footed with? What about cash flow? And so we're now faced with a pretty dire situation because everybody is furloughed. We scrapped around and managed to rent out bits of land to different people and different distributors, and for example British Car Auctions, who own We Buy Any Car, they rented a large chunk of our parking spaces. That's a year-long contract, but after that, who knows?
Do you have expectations with respect to recovery? Or is it
people,
more hopeless?
I don't know. My dad, bless him, is he's desperately trying to be positive, and he says, the emergency powers run out in March, and then after that we'll see a change. But my brother and I aren't so hopeful. The really savage thing is when things first struck, and the fire got hot, we made 30% of people redundant.
And these are people that you really cared about.
Yeah, it's horrible. I mean, we're 300 people, so we technically speaking, fit into the medium-sized business category. But we weren't that. We all knew each other's names. It's a tight-knit team, and having to make 30% of people redundant it's not friendly at all. It's not nice. And I get that there's good times and bad times in business, but when it's not your fault, it feels like a bit of a kick in the teeth,
Well, yeah, sure. Well, I mean, it's how many decades? Many decades of investment into the firm, and it took 2 months to wipe it away.
Yeah. I was very angry initially, and I was for some months. Although now I'm a bit more...
Angry with? at to?
Yeah, it's all directed at government because, like you say, there's a fundamental difference between disruption because of the virus and disruption because of the response to the virus.
Mm.
And the latter is what makes me cross, you know. But my worry now is, yes, people are very vocal, and yes, people should continue to be critical of government decision, but perhaps it's losing steam. Even in myself, I feel that.
Yeah.
What can you do?
Just defeated.
Yeah. I mean, there literally is, short of going on a protest or doing things like this to maybe tell the story of people that have been hit very hard by it. There isn't much you can do, and I talk about it because I'm upset that my family business is faced with hard times. I don't expect sympathy for that. People deal with that kind of thing all the time. But the issue lies in the 300 or so people that are employed by us.
Yeah.
Because if we go south to the point of having to sack everybody and close the business, that's 300 lives which are affected enormously by that, you know.
Mm-hmm. You're right, there will be 300 people who will suffer as a consequence, and it's not like they're being liberated into a job market that's at the moment particularly friendly to finding new work.
Exactly.
As you know, my wife was made redundant in late autumn of last year, and every time she had something lined up, an interview or a contact or something, it was effectively knocked on the head because there was some additional restriction. It's been incredibly difficult for her to find work, much more difficult than it otherwise would have been.
Yeah.
And if this goes on, and I suppose it's important that people understand that our position is reasonably comfortable, and she and I, and I suppose yours is as well, but not indefinitely. This can't last forever.
No.
We recently moved into a village. We moved there for my wife's work, which is now no longer relevant. And if this goes on for too long, I don't know. We don't know what we'll do.
Right.
Because, I mean, mortgages don't pay themselves, and food doesn't buy itself. It doesn't walk into our fridge and freezer. But I'm very aware that we have a few months of buffer. I'm even more acutely aware, and this is what I was talking about, the incomplete illumination of the balance sheet, that there are people far worse off who have been, liberated into a hostile job market. Supply is far outstripping demand, and that ratio is becoming increasingly unfavourable for people every single day, and they're faced with the expectation of nothing.
Yeah, it's hard to see people like Keir Starmer stand up and say, Labour will fully back the latest restrictions when he is his party has always been a champion of the working man. Yeah. And in this case, lockdown harms it's like a regressive tax. It harms the worse off.
Yeah, most quickly. The people who have the least are being damaged more most quickly in greatest numbers. Positive outlook for I suppose your business doesn't know if it's positive or negative. It's just taking it every day as it comes, see what happens.
Because of the way we adapted to renting the land out, I think we have enough money to cover our monthly bills. And then obviously furlough covers a portion of paying staff. We had to take out, I think, a £5 million loan back in maybe August time. So, I mean it'll get us like maybe another 12 months. We probably could be bothered to survive, but after that, I think my dad would probably say, "What's the point? What's the point in just sitting here like this?" So at that point, he'd probably close the business. We own the land, fortunately, so we'd probably just rent the land out. But that's the reality of it. So I don't know. It's funny because personally, my life has been. It's a funny double-edged sword because on a personal level, I've had a good good situation in the past 8 or 9 months. I've been paid every month.
Yeah.
Managed to pick up another job elsewhere, so it's double pay almost, with a bit of sacrifice for furlough. We've got a dog now, which is great. I've got my own house, which happened about a year before all of this. But all of those things going well, I've never felt more hopeless. And that's it's a horrible kind of state of euphoria and melancholy all in one. Free time's lovely, but endless free time isn't so lovely.
Yeah.
So I'm sure everyone would rather work 4 days a week and have the same money, or even 3 days a week and have the same money, or even 2 days a week and have the same money. But at the moment I'm faced with, as I'm sure many people are, you get up on a Monday morning and you don't have to go to work. My office is still open if people want to go in, more as a support network more than anything. But you don't have to go in, so you could just sit at home all day and play video games and watch TV, and if you do that for 7 days straight, things fall apart pretty quickly. The outlook is pretty trash right now.
But I know that other people will appreciate that you taking the time to actually talk about this, because there'll be plenty of other people suffering horribly.
Anytime.
Cool, thank you.